In 1964, sleep science faced a chilling milestone. Two high school students set out to explore how long a person could really stay awake. Back then, self-experiments were common, but one of these teens shattered expectations. He stayed awake for 11 days straight, 264 hours of pure, non-stop wakefulness. And that's no exaggeration. This wasn't just about feeling tired or struggling to keep your eyes open. On the fourth day, 17-year-old Randy Gardner started seeing hallucinations, mistaking a road sign for a person. By the sixth day, he lost control over his own muscles. The experiment pushed so far that the Guinness Book of World Records later banned recording such feats forever to stop anyone else from risking the same reckless trial. A healthy person can get out of bed, drive to a stranger's house, commit a murder, and walk away fully acquitted, simply because their brain was asleep at that moment. Today, you'll discover why the familiar 8-hour sleep is actually a modern invention. Step by step, we'll uncover the hidden process that flushes toxins from the brain during the night. You'll see exactly how our biological clocks control every single cell in our body. And most importantly, we'll return to Randy Gardner's story to find out what happened to him after enduring such extreme exhaustion. But to understand why sleep deprivation tears us down, we first need to explore the very nature of fatigue. I used to think the urge to sleep was like a blinking gaslight in a car, a warning that energy had run out. It turns out the truth is exactly the opposite. Fatigue isn't emptiness. It's the physical buildup of waste. Every cell in our body constantly produces a complex molecule called adenosine triphosphate. This molecule fuels our very existence. Whether we're sprinting to work, solving a tough problem, or even just blinking, our bodies burn through this energy source. And like any fuel, burning it leaves behind waste. In our case, that leftover is adenosine. This molecule is what we know as fatigue. It drifts through the bloodstream, latches onto special receptors in the brain, and dampens its activity. The result? We feel heavy, slow, and desperate to lie down. Wait a minute. How does morning coffee actually work? If fatigue is like physical clutter building up in your brain, a cup of espresso can't just wash it away. And it doesn't. Caffeine is a brilliant trickster. Its chemical structure mimics adenosine so closely that it grabs the receptors before the fatigue molecules do, blocking them from making you sleepy. The clutter doesn't disappear. It just keeps drifting around. But the brain doesn't notice it, at least for a while. Here's the catch. When you're utterly exhausted, your brain's receptors are packed full of adenosine. You drink your third cup of coffee, and your eyelids still won't stay open. I've been there 100 times. It turns out we're just using this tool the wrong way. For coffee to really work, you need to sleep first. In English, they call this the coffee nap. It's the most powerful legal hack for staying alert. The secret lies in its surprising logic. You drink a cup of coffee and then immediately close your eyes? Why? Because caffeine doesn't kick in for about 20 minutes. While it travels through your digestive system and bloodstream, a short nap naturally clears some receptors of fatigue molecules. Adenosine detaches from those receptors, freeing up more spots for caffeine to bind. The result hits like an explosion. The key is to wake up right at the 20-minute mark, before falling into deep sleep. Otherwise, you'll feel even more exhausted. It turns out we can hack our alertness by simply juggling brain chemistry, but blocking fatigue is one thing. What if we could just switch it off in the brain, like flipping a light switch? Surprisingly, we have that switch, and it's hidden in the most unexpected place. To find this switch, we need to dive one level deeper, right into the wiring of our brain. Inside your skull, a personal power plant hums with activity. Hundreds of billions of nerve cells or neurons communicate through a mix of chemistry and electricity. Literally, an electric current races along nerve fibers at speeds up to 120 meters per second. This current sparks when cells exchange positively charged particles. But if there's a way to turn something on, there has to be a way to turn it off. And there is. When neurons start passing negatively charged particles instead, they sort of shut down. The current stops, communication breaks off. That's when we begin to, well, slow down. Sleep is like a blackout, a planned shutdown of most of the circuits responsible for thought, consciousness, and our connection to the outside world. But it's not just flipping a switch, it's the result of a full-on chemical battle. I used to think falling asleep was a passive process, like your battery slowly draining down. But in reality, it's an intense, active battle. Right now, two teams of chemicals, neurotransmitters, are fighting in your brain. Let's call them Team Awake and Team Sleep. Team Awake keeps pushing to keep us alert, moving, thinking, acting. Its star players are serotonin and dopamine, the hormones of joy and motivation. They are the attackers. Within the sleep team, there's one key, powerful defender. It's gamma-aminobutyric acid, or GABA for short. Its job? To slow everything down. It calms neurons, lowers their activity, and literally douses the fire of alertness. Every night, the sleep team has to win this battle for us to fall asleep. This delicate balance is exactly what we break when we stay up too late. We artificially extend the wakefulness team's shift, draining its resources and preventing the sleep team from doing its job. Sometimes you can actually feel this battle in your body. You've probably experienced it yourself. You're lying in bed just about to drift off, and suddenly, your body jerks sharply, as if you're falling from a great height. What just happened? That's an echo of the very war inside your brain. The sleep team is winning. It's the first to shut down the part of your brain that senses your body's position in space. But the wakefulness team, losing control, mistakes this for a real threat, falling. So it strikes back. A sudden muscle reflex kicks in to keep you balanced. That jolt is the last desperate act of the wakefulness system before it finally powers down. So what finally allows the sleep team to win? It turns out that simple tiredness, the buildup of adenosine, isn't enough. To open the gates of sleep, two keys must turn at the same time, just like launching a nuclear missile. The first key is the pressure of exhaustion we've talked about. The second is a signal from our internal biological clocks. Sleep only arrives when peak tiredness aligns perfectly with the green light from these clocks. Turn just one key, and nothing happens. You'll lie there drained, but you won't fall asleep. Ooh. Now we reach the most important point. Where are these clocks located? In two tiny spots inside your brain. The first is a cluster of about 20,000 neurons, right above where the optic nerves cross. The second and more crucial one lies a little deeper. It's called the pineal gland, a tiny gland the size of a grain of rice that produces the main sleep hormone, melatonin. And here's the surprising part. The primary trigger that starts the whole sleep process isn't tiredness, it's the absence of light. As long as any light hits your retina, your eyes send a signal that tells the pineal gland to take a break. It stops producing melatonin. Your brain assumes it's daytime and that sleeping isn't an option. But once darkness sets in and the signal fades, the melatonin party begins. The pineal gland wakes up and starts releasing the sleep hormone into your bloodstream, giving the sleep team a crucial edge. This is the master switch we've been searching for, and it's right there, in your eyes. The importance of this mechanism becomes clear when we look at a unique disorder found in blind people. In more than half of them, their biological clocks fail to receive any light signals. Their brains can't tell day from night. Because of this, their daily rhythms keep shifting. One day, they want to sleep at night, the next week during the day, the week after in the morning. They live in a state of constant jet lag, but fish, frogs, and lizards don't face this problem. They have a special organ hidden beneath the skin on top of their heads. A genuine third eye that reacts to day and night cycles, even when their regular eyes are closed. So, our brain has a central clock tuned to light. But what if I told you every single cell in your body has its own clock? And these clocks decide whether the pastry you just ate will burn as energy or get stored as fat. This isn't just a nice metaphor. These internal clocks are real. They shape who you are. An early riser, a productive night owl, or a pigeon who could care less. Right now, tune into yourself. When do you truly feel sleepy? When do you feel ready to work? If you wake up easily at 6 in the morning but start nodding off by 10 at night, you're an early bird. If your energy spikes late in the evening and mornings feel like a struggle, you're a night owl. And if you adapt effortlessly to any schedule, congratulations, you're a pigeon. It might seem like a simple habit or personality trait, but it's not. This is biology, and it shifts as we age. The most extreme night owls are young adults around 19 or 20 years old, especially men. Their biological midnight, the midpoint of their sleep, hits close to 5 in the morning. Yet one unyielding truth remains. No matter who you are in your youth, night owl or early bird, you'll eventually become a morning person. After 50, our internal clocks start speeding up, pushing us toward earlier wake-ups. So if your parents or grandparents wake you at 7 a.m. on a Sunday, it's not stubbornness. Their bodies simply can't do it any other way. But here's the strangest part. Your chronotype isn't just some mental setting. It's literally woven into every cell of your body. Inside each cell, tiny clocks exist, no bigger than a couple of genes. They work in a brilliantly simple way. 2 genes trigger the production of 2 proteins. These proteins build up until they reach a tipping point. Then they loop back and shut down the very genes that made them. Production stops, protein levels fall, the genes switch back on. This cycle completes itself in exactly 24 hours. This isn't just a theory. Scientists took human skin cells, placed them in a nutrient solution, and watched. And you know what? The cells kept living on their own schedule. Visual. Here's what skin cells look like glowing when placed in a nutrient solution. They brightened and dimmed in their own internal rhythm, even though they'd long been cut off from the brain and any signals from light. Every single one of your cells follows its own timetable. When that schedule gets thrown off, trouble starts. Now let's go back to that piece of cake. There it sits, on the plate. It's 8 in the morning, you eat it. At that exact moment, the cells in your liver, pancreas, and entire digestive system are firing on all cylinders. Their internal clocks say it's workday. They're breaking down sugar efficiently, turning it into energy ready to be burned throughout the day. Your body operates like a finely tuned orchestra. Now, fast forward 12 hours. It's 8 in the evening. On your plate sits the exact same pastry, but for your internal organs, it's the dead of night. Your liver has clocked out, its cells are winding down, preparing to detox and rest. Then suddenly a rush of sugar floods the system. There's no one left to burn it. All the workers have gone home. So your body takes the easiest route. It sends that sugar straight to storage. Your fat cells. 2 identical actions. Yet the results couldn't be more different. The secret? Timing. Jet lag happens when our internal clocks fall out of sync with the outside world. The first settlers on Mars will face this problem on a massive scale. A Martian day, called a sol, is 40 minutes longer than an Earth day. That might sound insignificant, but after living on Mars for a month, that difference adds up to a whole extra day. While 31 days pass on Earth, only 30 go by on Mars. Their bodies will constantly struggle to keep pace with the planet they call home. Yet we don't have to travel to Mars to feel this effect. Just board a plane. Here's a useful tip. Flying west is always easier on your body. When we fly west, we stretch out the day, and it's simpler for our bodies to stay awake a few extra hours than to force sleep earlier, like when we fly east. Here's what I realized as I dug into this. The most common and the most dangerous type of jet lag has nothing to do with air travel. It's called social jet lag. That's when your natural rhythms clash with the schedule society imposes on you. It sounds complicated, but really it's a story about every one of us. You're a night owl, yet your workday starts at 9 in the morning. Every weekday, you drag yourself out of bed, drown your sleepiness in coffee, and live against your biology. Then the weekend comes, and you try to catch up on sleep by sleeping in until 11 or even noon. Sound familiar? Well, for your body, it's like crossing time zones twice a week. Imagine this. On Friday night, you fly from New York to Chicago, and by Sunday night, you're back home. And you do this every single week. It's more than just a hassle. It's a kind of chronic sleep deprivation. Every Monday, your body goes into shock, scrambling to reset its internal clock for the work week. This constant disruption wears down your system, raising the risk of diabetes, obesity, and heart disease. We're breaking an ancient mechanism, one refined over millions of years, with our own hands. Some people who suffer from winter depression due to lack of light even get prescribed light therapy, sitting for half an hour in front of a special lamp that shines at 10,000 lux to trick their internal clocks. But here's the question. Why did evolution create such inconvenient differences in the first place? Why do owls exist if the world seems built for early risers? Why can't we all be the same? Evolution didn't make us different by chance. In fact, your struggle to fall asleep before 3 a.m. might have saved your tribe from extinction long ago. just like it still does today among the Hadza people. This difference in chronotypes isn't a quirk of nature or a random accident. It's an ancient survival strategy that scientists call the sentinel hypothesis. The idea is simple. Evolution deliberately staggered our internal clocks so that someone in the tribe is always awake. While the early risers sleep, the night owls keep watch. Then, when the owls finally rest, the larks are already waking up. Together, the group becomes a single, vigilant organism. Almost impossible to catch off guard. It sounds like a neat theory, but real-life evidence makes it undeniable. In Tanzania, the Hadza tribe lives almost untouched by modern civilization. They survive through hunting and gathering, their way of life one of the last of its kind on Earth. Scientists traveled to their remote home to test a curious idea. But they didn't just watch from a distance. They handed out small devices, similar to smartwatches, to tribe members. For 20 days straight, these devices tracked their sleep and wake cycles. The results stunned everyone. Across nearly 500 hours of observation, there was only one tiny window when every member of the tribe slept at the same time. It lasted just 18 minutes. 18 minutes over the course of 3 weeks. The rest of the time, at least one person, often several, was awake. The tribe was never left defenseless. And that's when I thought I had the answer. That our ancient sleep patterns just don't match the modern world. But the deeper I dug, the more I realized I was wrong. The truth is far, far stranger. It turns out that only 400 years ago, people slept in a completely different way. Our sacred 8 hours of sleep? That's a modern invention, one that might have actually made us weaker. Let's travel back to 17th century Europe. It's evening. You've just finished dinner by candlelight or the fireplace, and by 8:30, you're already heading to bed. Not because you're tired, but because the night outside is pitch black and there's nothing to do. You sleep for a few hours, then around 2 or 3 in the morning, you wake up. This isn't insomnia, it's perfectly normal. You feel wide awake, alert, and full of energy. This period of nighttime wakefulness, lasting an hour or two, was called the watch. People didn't lie in bed counting sheep. They got up, lit a fire, read, prayed, talked with family, visited neighbors, or made love. Historical records and even literature from that era are filled with mentions of this pause between the first and second sleep. It was as natural a part of the daily rhythm as our morning or evening. Then, after a couple of hours, everyone returned to bed, sleeping until dawn. So, why did we stop doing that? Why did we forget how to sleep twice in one night? The answer is almost laughably simple. Light appeared. First gas lamps lit up the streets, and then electric lights brightened our homes. Night was no longer a time for rest. Social life pushed later into the evening. People stopped going to bed at 8 and started staying up until 10, 11, even midnight. The first sleep began to blend into the second, until they merged into a single 8-hour stretch. Coffee sped up this change. Until the late 17th century, taverns were the main social hubs, serving alcohol that, as we know, tends to help with sleep. Then coffee houses emerged, centers of business and intellectual life, that stayed open late, fueling their patrons' alertness well into the night. This new, solid block of 8-hour sleep became the industrial norm. It fit neatly into factory shifts and office hours. But for our biology, it posed a serious challenge. In the past, you had 2 chances to get a good night's rest. If the first sleep was restless, you could make up for it during the second. Now, we only have one shot. One uninterrupted 8-hour window to fit all the vital processes in. Any disruption, any waking in the middle of the night, and the whole system collapses. We compressed our sleep, made it denser and more efficient, but also incredibly fragile. We've become more vulnerable to the fallout of even a single bad night. And the stakes in this nightly game are astonishingly high. Because what happens inside those 8 hours isn't just rest. Every night within this tight schedule, the brain carries out a crucial task. It literally cleanses itself of toxins that cause Alzheimer's disease. Falling asleep feels like a sudden plunge into darkness. Click, and our consciousness switches off. But if we could step outside ourselves and watch the brain with sensors attached, we'd see it's not a plunge at all. Instead, it's a slow, almost ceremonial descent down a staircase leading into the depths of unconsciousness. Scientists record the brain's electrical activity throughout the night, creating what they call a hypnogram, a chart that looks a lot like a roller coaster. The lower we go on this chart, the deeper our sleep becomes and the slower the brainwaves get. Sleep begins with two light stages. In this state, any small noise can wake you up, without leaving you feeling groggy. But then the brain takes a decisive plunge, sinking to the deepest level, a deep sleep. This whole descent is called slow-wave sleep, and here the alarm clock becomes your worst enemy. If it rings while you're in this deep state, you don't simply wake up, you surface. And you get stuck in what's called sleep inertia, or more precisely, sleep drunkenness. It's that strange place where you're no longer asleep, but not fully awake either. You don't know who you are, where you are, or why this buzzing rectangle seems to be out to get you. But then something truly strange happens. After settling into deep sleep, the brain doesn't stay there until morning. It suddenly accelerates. Its electrical activity surges to waking levels, and a completely different type of sleep begins. Rapid eye movement sleep. This is when we experience the most vivid, bizarre, and unforgettable dreams. The whole cycle, descending into deep sleep, then rising into rapid eye movement sleep, takes about an hour and a half, like watching a feature-length film. Over the course of a night, we go through 4 or 5 of these episodes. To keep these sleep phases clear, I came up with a simple analogy. Imagine your body as a huge office that operates around the clock. Slow-wave sleep is like the night shift of cleaners and maintenance workers. They arrive after everyone else has left and start fixing broken chairs, mopping floors, taking out the trash, and replacing burnt-out light bulbs. They handle the hardware, the physical infrastructure of the building. Meanwhile, REM sleep is like the IT department, also working through the night. They don't touch the chairs or light bulbs. Their job is to manage the software, defragmenting hard drives, installing updates, deleting virus files, and backing up important data. 2 different teams, with 2 completely different but equally crucial tasks. So, team number 1, the slow-wave sleep repair crew. What do they actually do? During the day, our brain acts like a central processor, fully occupied with processing signals from the outside world. Light, sounds, smells. But at night, during slow-wave sleep, it shifts focus inward. The cortex cells, which spent the day receiving signals from the eyes and ears, now listen to messages from internal organs: the gut, lungs, heart. The body runs a full diagnostic check, and to fix what wore down during the day, it releases the body's main building block, the growth hormone, into the bloodstream. Deep sleep accounts for up to 80% of our daily growth hormone release. That's why babies who need to grow at an astonishing pace sleep around 15 hours a day. Even before birth, a human fetus spends up to 98% of its time asleep. But growth hormone isn't just for kids. In adults, it works like a super soldier serum, boosting protein production, cell division, and tissue repair. Simply put, it fixes us. And there's a bonus: it burns fat actively. Yes, while you sleep doing absolutely nothing, you're actually losing weight. But the night shift workers have a bigger job than cleaning the body. They focus on the brain itself. Every day, thinking generates waste inside it. Metabolic garbage. If left unchecked, this buildup starts to poison the system. So how did nature solve this problem? During deep sleep, brain cells shrink slightly, reducing their volume. This pulls the spaces between them wider. Cerebrospinal fluid then rushes into these expanded channels like a powerful jet washing through city streets, clearing away piles of waste and toxins. This includes the very toxins known as beta-amyloid plaques, the accumulation of which directly leads to Alzheimer's disease. This isn't just cleaning, it's a vital process that protects us from dementia. Every night, our brain activates its built-in detox system. Missing a night's sleep means skipping that cleansing session. The waste stays exactly where it is, and if you skip it regularly, that clutter starts to pile up. This is one of the key reasons chronic sleep deprivation wreaks such havoc. We are literally polluting our own minds, okay? We've dealt with the repair crew. They fix the body and flush the brain. Now, the IT department takes over it. That's the rapid eye movement sleep. If slow-wave sleep tidies things up physically, what does rapid eye movement sleep do? It cleans up mentally. It sorts through all the information collected during the day, separating what's important from what's unnecessary. We take in gigabytes of data daily: faces, conversations, texts we read, images we see. If the brain stored everything, it would overflow in just a few weeks, so every night it runs an audit. During rapid eye movement sleep, your brain reviews which neural connections, meaning your memories and skills, you use often, and which ones just take up space. It cuts the weak, unused links, wiping away unnecessary information. At the same time, it strengthens the strong connections and stores them in long-term memory. That's why when you learn something new, whether it's a foreign language or how to drive, sleep isn't wasted time. It's a crucial part of learning. During sleep, your brain actually rewires new information into your memory. And here's why rapid eye movement phases get longer toward morning, to process as much data as possible. But that's not all. The IT department has one more, perhaps the most important job: to quiet down leftover emotions and stress by morning. Quick sleep acts like our built-in therapy. The brain replays the emotionally charged events of the day, only this time it does so in a special chemical cocktail where stress hormones drop to their lowest. That process separates the memory of what happened from the emotional weight it carried. You remember the event, but it no longer hurts. That's why they say, morning is wiser than evening. Problems that felt catastrophic at night often seem much less daunting by the next day. It's not magic. It's just your brain doing real effective work while you sleep. Every night, a complex technological process unfolds inside our heads. Two teams of specialists take turns working on the most intricate system in the universe. One team repairs the hardware, the other fine-tunes the software. Sleep is our built-in system for repair and optimization. But what happens if we shut it down? What happened to the man who stayed awake for 11 days straight? And is there a state where falling asleep becomes absolutely impossible? Remember Randy Gardner, the teenager from the beginning of the video who stayed awake for 11 straight days? After that brutal experiment, they took him to a naval hospital, hooked him up to monitors, and left him alone. Everyone expected him to slip into a coma for days to make up for the massive sleep debt. But that never happened. Randy only slept for 14 hours and 40 minutes. When he woke up, he felt completely fine. 15 hours. That was all he needed. It turns out the body doesn't try to make up for every lost hour of sleep. Instead, it runs deeper, more intense maintenance to catch up. Scientists also believe Randy didn't stay awake for all 264 hours straight. Someone who goes without sleep for 11 days for an experiment can regularly slip into microsleeps. That's when the brain shuts down for a few seconds to reboot, even if the eyes stay open. To an outside observer, it looks like the person just froze. But inside their mind, complete silence takes over. Single sleep deprivation experiments, it seems, don't cause irreversible damage to the body. But what if the system breaks not for 11 days, but forever? There's a condition that makes falling asleep impossible, no matter what. It's called fatal familial insomnia. This rare genetic disease kills people. It's the worst kind of inheritance. Not just trouble sleeping. A death sentence written into your genetic code, waiting for the moment to strike. And usually after around 40 years, it finally activates. Entire generations within a single family suffer from this. There are only 40 such families in the whole world. 40 families passing down a curse with no cure. It all starts when a person simply stops sleeping. First at night, then during the day as well. Sleeping pills don't help. No sedatives make a difference. The sleep mechanism is burned out from the inside. The cause is a mutation in just one gene. Because of this flaw, one protein in the brain transforms into a dangerous pathogen, a prion. It behaves like a virus, but it's made from our own tissues. This prion triggers a chain reaction, turning healthy proteins into defective copies. The brain begins to deteriorate, literally turning into a sponge riddled with holes. One key symptom is a complete breakdown of sleep, where the patient gets stuck between waking and dreaming. They can't fall asleep, yet they can't fully stay awake either. They experience hallucinations, lose their memory, and lose the ability to walk. Eventually they die, but not directly from lack of sleep, from brain damage. The absence of sleep is just one visible sign that the brain's main processor is consuming itself from within. This system isn't just turned off, it's irreversibly destroyed. So total sleep loss destroys the brain, but even those who sleep normally have brains that behave in strange ways. Every night the brain shows us a movie. But what kind of movie is it? A random collection of scenes or a survival training simulator? Even if you sleep perfectly, your brain still embarks on a very strange journey every night. It becomes the director, the screenwriter, and the only audience in the most private movie theater in the world. But before the main feature begins, there's a waiting room, a borderland between wakefulness and sleep. Scientists call this state hypnagogia. Salvador Dali drew inspiration from this very state. The artist would sit in a chair, place a metal plate on the floor, and fall asleep holding a heavy key in his hand. As his body relaxed completely, his grip loosened, and the key would crash onto the plate. Dali would snap awake and rush to sketch whatever had just flashed before his eyes. But what he saw weren't full dreams yet. These were hypnagogic hallucinations. Fragments of faces, strange patterns, disconnected phrases, sudden sounds. A warm-up for the brain before it dives into real dreaming. Even during the slow, deep phase of sleep, we dream. But these dreams feel like boring movies, more like random snapshots from the day or a jerky slideshow. The real blockbuster starts in the rapid eye movement phase. But here's the question that still divides scientists. What kind of blockbuster is it? A meaningful story or just noise? Here, opinions sharply diverge, sparking a real scientific debate. The first theory is called the activation synthesis theory, though I prefer to think of it as the junk cinema theory. According to this idea, dreams are just a side effect of the brain's nighttime cleanup. Remember how we said the brain cleans itself while you sleep? During this process, it cuts unnecessary neural connections, creating random electrical bursts across different brain regions. Our conscious mind, desperate to find meaning, stitches these bursts into a story on the fly. So that dream where you're flying on a purple crocodile over your office? This theory sees it as a tale your brain tells itself to explain why areas tied to flight, color, fear, and deadline memories all fired up at once. Dreams are just beautiful garbage. But wait, if dreams are just mental clutter, why do so many of them turn into nightmares? Why do we keep reliving moments of failing an exam, running from a pursuer, or falling from great heights? It's puzzling. Another competing theory explains these dreams better, the threat simulation theory. It suggests that the brain actively creates nightmares and unsettling scenarios during sleep to prepare us for real-life dangers. Think of it like pilot training in a flight simulator. The brain runs us through a variety of threats in a completely safe setting, sharpening our reactions until they become automatic. And here's the crucial part. We lose this evolutionary training when we sacrifice sleep. Chronic sleep deprivation isn't just about feeling tired. It's skipping daily survival drills. This nighttime theater is open to everyone, even animals dream. Cats, during the rapid eye movement phase of sleep, might arch their backs and hiss. Octopuses are like living screens. Their bodies reveal what they're dreaming. They change color and skin texture, mimicking the environment inside their own dreams. Even blind people see visual images. If they lost their sight after the age of 5, their brains remember what objects look like. Those who are blind from birth still dream, but their dreams unfold as sounds, smells, and tactile sensations. Only a rare few on the planet are physically unable to see dreams. They suffer from Charcot-Willebrand syndrome, a condition where a tiny region in the brain, the lingual gyrus, is damaged. Scientists have discovered this area records emotions and visual images during sleep. Here's the most common question. If everyone dreams, why can't I ever remember mine? I've been there too. You think you just blacked out in the dark for 8 hours, but that's not the case. You absolutely do dream. You just can't recall it. The secret lies in brain chemistry. During sleep, the level of norepinephrine in our brain drops sharply. This neurotransmitter plays a key role in attention and helps store memories. When norepinephrine is low, it's like hitting the "don't save" button all night long. The brain essentially tells itself, this isn't real. No need to store it in long-term memory. That's why dreams slip away so easily the moment you open your eyes. That's why studying dreams is so difficult. Interpreting them is even harder. Modern sleep researchers don't have a universal dream dictionary. Dreams are deeply personal, and they depend on where and how you live. Sociologists found that people in the Chelyabinsk region often dream about meteorites and meteor showers. On the Russian Far East, bears, tigers, and tsunamis appear. Near the Volga River, dreams feature crayfish. And in Moscow, the subway shows up. Dreams act like a mirror reflecting our reality. Still, some themes are universal. Falling, being chased, missing an important appointment. These seem to be our most basic, shared human fears. Sometimes frightening dreams can actually be helpful. There's a whole category of dreams linked to illness. They show up before we even realize we're sick, when the body starts sending faint warning signals to the brain. Someone might dream they're being strangled, and then, within days, the first signs of asthma appear. Or they dream of walking on hot coals, and soon after, inflammation begins in their legs. This isn't mysticism. It's early diagnosis. But what about prophetic dreams? Those stories where someone dreams about a plane crash, cancels their ticket, and the plane really crashes. Or dreams of winning lottery numbers, and then they actually win. There's no magic here either. A prophetic dream is really just a kind of survivor bias. One single hit among thousands upon thousands of misses that we never notice or remember. Every night, billions of people around the world experience trillions of dreams with all kinds of stories. Statistically, it's inevitable that one of those dreams will randomly match reality. We remember that one incredible coincidence and forget all the times the dream didn't come true. It's like shooting a gun blindfolded. 999 times you miss, but on the 1,000th shot, you hit the bullseye. And that shot is the one that makes history. Dreams reflect our lives, our fears, and even our illnesses. Usually we watch as passive spectators in this theater. But what if you could step onto the stage and become the director of your own dream? This idea sounds like science fiction. Not just watching your dreams, but taking control of them. Right in the middle of the strangest story, you suddenly realize, wait a minute, I'm dreaming. And everything changes. You're no longer a victim of the nightmare. You become its director. Want to fly? Go ahead. Want to talk to someone from your past? Easy. This is called lucid dreaming, a state where, during sleep, parts of the brain responsible for awareness, memory, and planning suddenly activate. Achieving this is tough. Entire techniques exist just for that. One method involves constantly asking yourself throughout the day, am I dreaming? The goal is to turn this question into a habit that carries over into your dreams. At some point, you'll ask yourself this while dreaming, glance at your hands, see 7 fingers, and realize, this is it. Have you ever dreamed that you woke up, started your day, and then noticed something absurd? Like a clock running backward or a purple sky outside? That's a false awakening, the first step toward lucid dreaming. For a long time, people dismissed this as mysticism, but scientists proved it's real. Researchers developed simple signals to send to sleeping subjects. Out of 36 volunteers, 6 managed to realize they were dreaming and respond with muscle movements. They were literally communicating with scientists from within their dreams. This represents the ultimate level of control. But what if the pendulum swings the other way? What if the main safety switch that protects us every night fails? During REM sleep, when we dream vividly, our brain completely paralyzes our body. This is a built-in safeguard, so we don't act out our dreams. But sometimes that system breaks down. In REM sleep behavior disorder, the connection between the brain and muscles doesn't shut off. Suddenly, the person starts physically living their dream. If they dream about fighting, they'll throw punches in bed. If they're running from a monster, they might jump up and sprint straight into a wall. But there's another, even more common glitch. Sleepwalking. Here, everything flips. The brain wakes up, not during REM sleep, but in deep, slow-wave sleep. And it doesn't wake up fully. Consciousness, identity, memory, all of that remains in a deep sleep. But the motor centers, the parts that control walking, talking, complex actions, they fire up. The person gets up and walks. Suddenly, they're no longer just a spectator in the theater of dreams. They become an actor without a script or a director. On May 23, 1987, 23-year-old Canadian Kenneth Parks went to sleep on the couch. He felt desperate. He had just lost his job, racked up huge debts from gambling, and didn't know how to tell his wife. He fell asleep. What happened next still fascinates lawyers and sleep researchers around the world. Parks woke up in his wife's parents' house, his hands covered in blood. He had no memory of leaving his own home, driving nearly 13 miles and attacking his mother-in-law with a crowbar and a knife. He also seriously injured his father-in-law, who fortunately survived. Realizing what he had done, Parks showed up at the police station and said, "I think I killed someone." The police didn't believe him. The story sounded too unbelievable. But the evidence confirmed every detail. The trial began. Parks's defense presented an extraordinary claim. He committed the crime while still in a deep sleep. He got up, dressed, went down to the garage, started the car, drove 12 miles through the city, found a spare key, unlocked the door, pulled a crowbar from the trunk, and carried out the murder, all without waking up. It sounds like a poor excuse, but sleep experts, after studying his brainwaves, confirmed that Parks suffered from a severe form of sleepwalking, worsened by stress. His brain could indeed send his body commands to perform complex actions while his consciousness was completely offline. He didn't plan the murder. He wasn't even angry at his mother-in-law. They had a good relationship. His brain was simply running some kind of sleepy program. And do you know how Kenneth's story ended? He was acquitted. The jury found him not guilty, because a person can't be held responsible for what their body does while their mind is asleep. This case set a legal precedent. Now, at least in the West, courts often treat sleep disorders as a mitigating factor. The Parks case is an extreme example, but there are other equally strange glitches in the system. Take sexsomnia, for instance, when a person becomes sexually active during sleep but remembers nothing the next morning. Or narcolepsy, a condition where people can sleep for 10 hours at night, take several naps during the day, and still feel overwhelmingly drowsy in between. One form is especially dangerous, narcolepsy with cataplexy. Here, any strong emotion, laughter, anger, surprise, instantly shuts down muscle tone. The person simply collapses as if cut down, slipping into a deep sleep right in the middle of the street. There's a state you might have experienced yourself, sleep paralysis. It's a strange no man's land between sleep and wakefulness. Your brain starts to wake up, but your body's paralysis mechanism hasn't switched off yet. You lie there, fully aware, but unable to move a finger or a toe. Not even a sound escapes. That alone is terrifying. But the brain doesn't stop there. It throws in hallucinations. People feel trapped and panic. They sense someone nearby. A shadow, a menacing figure, or even a monster sitting on their chest. This isn't supernatural, it's just a glitch in how the brain works. Yet it has inspired legends of demons and ghosts all around the world. These stories all sound alarming. It feels like our brain is an unreliable machine that could betray us at any moment. At first, it gives us the illusion of complete control. Then, just when we let our guard down, it yanks the wheel and sends the car crashing into a ditch. But these are all anomalies, rare glitches in the system. Normally, our sleep is a perfectly tuned process of restoration and protection. The good news, we can actually support our sleep system. From effective light blocking to weighted blankets. Here's your guide to reclaiming the night. So, we've journeyed through nightmares, records, and even sleep paralysis. Now, as promised, here's a practical guide, a simple checklist to turn your bedroom into a true recovery zone. Let's start with the basics. The ideal room temperature falls between 64 and 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity should hover around 55%. Now for an unexpected tip, sleep with socks on. Yes, it sounds odd, but studies show people who wear socks to bed sleep longer and wake up 7 times less often during the night. It all comes down to temperature regulation. Warm feet cause blood vessels to dilate, improving circulation and slightly lowering overall body temperature. That drop signals the brain it's time to shut down. If that's not enough, try a weighted blanket. It mimics the sensation of a gentle hug, calming your nervous system and helping you drift off. But all these are just tools, because quality sleep has one main, relentless enemy, and that enemy is light. Any light during sleep is the #1 adversary. Even a flashlight's glow through the curtain reduces melatonin production. Your eyelids, closed as they are, let in enough light to fool your brain. It sees that faint signal and thinks, "Looks like dawn, time to wind down night mode." And just like that, the magic breaks. The solution is simple and uncompromising. Blackout curtains. Total, absolute cave-like darkness. And then there's gadgets. Their screens emit light in the most alerting blue part of the spectrum. Looking at your phone before bed is like shouting right into your brain's ear. "Morning, wake up, time to work." After everything we've learned about the brain's nighttime cleanup, the sorting of memories, and survival training, one thing becomes clear. Sleep isn't just a wasted third of your life. It's not passive rest, and it's not your brain shutting down. Sleep is a complex, active process your body carries out every night so you can function as yourself the next day. We've come to think of sleep as a frustrating obligation that steals time from our real lives. But what if it's the other way around? What if we've been looking at this equation from the wrong side all along? We tend to think of waking life as the main event, and sleep is just an afterthought. But these two are inseparable. They work together like two climbers roped in tight. You sleep to live well during the day, and at the same time, your entire waking day is a preparation for sleep. When you drank coffee, stepped into sunlight, exercised, or worried at night, each of these moments fuels your night, for better or worse. A good day builds a good night, and a good night builds a good day. This is the key secret. Sleep isn't a pause, it's the foundation. Speaking of foundations, Randy Gardner, the high school student who stayed awake for 11 days straight, fully recovered. Once his body got the chance, it repaired itself completely. Our sleep system is incredibly resilient. It just needs a little support. Stop fighting against it. Then the night won't feel like lost time. It will become your greatest ally.